We are back for another round of Paisley Berger betting college football preview show. Mr. Paisley, great to have you back on this Wednesday as we head into week 4 of the season.
Yeah, Case, like we say every week, flying by here, ready to get into the prep after the recap we just had Sunday night. So sneaky good slate of games like we were just talking before we hit the record button here, but definitely some ones we'll find out a lot about these teams now that we're starting to see some conference matchups, some teams that are around the same skill level, some lower spreads. So we're not going to be talking 40, 50-point spreads anymore, hopefully, until the SEC does their bye week in week 11, I think that is. So should be fun. Should be fun. A lot of great matchups here we'll get into.
We appreciate everybody listening as well. And if you're new to the page or channel, me and Paisley, we do this twice a week. We'll recap this week on either Sunday night and get that out either Sunday or Monday. And then we do the upcoming week preview as well. So if you're not already subscribed, we do appreciate it. We're trying to grow the page as much as we could. Hit the follow button. Feel free to comment. Even if you have some disagreements, it's always fun to engage in. So like always, we appreciate it. And with that, we may as well just jump right into some of these previews. We have a decent slate, as you said. Paisley, no top, 5 showdowns like we'll get into next week. But Fox Big Noon heading all the way out to Utah. We got a top 25 matchup between two potential Big 12 here teams. Number 17, Texas Tech, going on the road at number 16, Utah. Utah, the slight favorite right now at 3.5. Total sitting at 57.5. Two teams pretty similar in a way. They're both putting up a ton of points. However, they didn't play anybody yet. So this is kind of the first real test for both teams. Got a pretty good, interesting matchup here out west, Paisley.
Yeah, should be a fun one. And just a little note with these big noon kickoffs that I didn't really realize, but when they go out west or super far west, it's a 10 a.m. local start. So it is going to be nice and early, which is crazy for these college kids. They're both kind of on the West Coast Mountain Time, so it's not something crazier for this matchup, but just keep that in mind going forward. So, yeah, great matchup here in Utah. Nice little fun new Big 12 matchup here. But, right off the rip, I liked Utah before the season. I think they looked very impressive. Dan Pierre, quarterback from New Mexico, looks really solid, especially on the ground. He's got really good legs, could really scramble. And Texas Tech was one of those teams they were very hyped up last year, didn't really live up to it. This year they did a ton in the portal, spent probably the most money in the portal, so they have the talent there. Now this year, can they put it together? Their quarterback's been there a while. I forget his name, but he's been there a couple of years now. He's always usually injured, but he's healthy in this matchup. So you got good on good. Like you said, this is a good middle-ranged ranked matchup here. But just because of all that, I do like Utah a little more in this matchup. I like that they're at home. The 3.5 number, if you get a 3, I think that's a solid play. But I do respect Texas Tech. It's not one that I really love. The over-under on the side, I'm not sure what to do, like you said, because the offenses look good, but the defenses haven't really been tested yet by a good offense. So I'm hoping we see fireworks here at 10 a.m. in Utah time. But I think the Utah home field advantage is very tough to get around, especially at night. But in this spot here, even at the noon spot, it's going to be tough. So I like Utah here to have a nice staple win here, get their season going in the right direction. But I'm not one that I love, like I said. So I'd probably take Utah minus 3.5. And with the Big 12 being this wide open, I think Utah could really take it by the reins. Someone kind of said this might be the 2 best teams in the Big 12, just how the early season is shaken out. But I think this could be a potential Big 12 championship rematch if things hold serve the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, good points all around. And also good note on the 10 a.m. kickoff. Yeah, something, we're going to get more of with college football just because of the whole conference realignment. And I know, they probably played at noon before, but it's just definitely something we're going to watch. Even, this is a completely side note, but like Michigan State's playing USC. I think they kick off at like 10 p.m. for Eastern time, which is going to be strange for Michigan State. But back to this game, because of the early start, I think both these teams are evenly matched. Like we said, I could really go either way. I'm not going to be stunned. Texas Tech still has a special place in my heart, just from that all the way back to 2009 when they stunned Texas. It's like one of my first core memories, Michael Crabtree. So I'm always rooting for Texas Tech when I could. Both teams similar, like I said, played real weak non-conference schedules. I don't know what to do with the total. I like the under in the total just because I think this is a little bit inflated. based off of their opponents having really weak defenses. I think we're seeing a lot of points being scored just because they haven't really been tested. Utah got a little bit inflated. I think they're really good, but I think they crushed UCLA week 1. And we didn't know how bad UCLA really is. So I think that could have possibly, fabricated them a little bit. Not to say I think they're in the running for the Big 12 for sure, but I like the under here because I think of that a little bit. Two offense is a little bit inflated. And then also just the 10 a.m. kick, like you said, it comes down to just something that simple. That's why it makes college a little bit different than the NFL too, is you kind of have these weird things going on. I probably take Texas Tech with the points just because it's 3.5. I don't love the play. I think it's gonna be a back and forth game, but I think I'm gonna roll with the under on this one.
Yeah, it's not bad. If I had to pick one, in a contest or something, I probably would lean under too. The number just seems a little high. Like you said, the offenses looked really good, but I think that was a byproduct of the bad defenses. And just one note, it's hard with some of these teams, and we'll talk about some of the bigger matchups, and it's like there's just no good teams. Like everyone's downplaying now. If you beat Clemson, they're not a good team. If you beat Notre Dame, they're 0-2. Like it is tough to find a team that has a really good win because there's just not a lot of teams at the top that feel like they're really good. So just something to keep in mind with all these matchups, but should be an awesome game, big noon kickoff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It'll be a good one. And I'm glad we're getting a little bit of change of pace in Big Noon too. They're not at the Big Ten this week. So it's always fun to see. All right, another game here. A little bit of, let's see, ACC Big 12 here. SMU going on the road at TCU. I guess we got a little bit of in-state rivalry going on here in Texas. TCU got the big win over North Carolina, over Bill Belichick, obviously week 1. They look really good, deservedly so, and their spread is -6.5. I think they earned that number there. Total pretty high at 64.5. And this one's also noon. Another interesting matchup here, non-conference here early in the season.
Yeah, this one I do feel a little more strong about. Both sides, actually. I like TCU -6.5, and I do like the over in this game. I feel like SMU is a great over team this whole season. I bet on them against the Baylor Bears a couple weeks ago. A lot of offense. Their offense, not a top-tier offense, but really solid with Kevin Jennings running the system there. But their defense is bad. They had a really good defense last year, but lost so many guys. And this also just boils down to this is one team I was a little bit higher on and one team I was looking to sell. Coming into the season, I really like TCU. Talked about them on the preview pod. Showed out really well. Took a -3.5 against UNC that first game, and it wasn't even a doubt. I think their offense is electric. Really like their quarterback, Hoover. I think he's a sneaky, really good college quarterback that's not really getting talked about. So you put him up against an SMU defense that isn't that great at home. I think TCU should score a bunch of points. Now the total is very high, but I do think SMU could get there and do enough damage here to get it over the total. But for the game-wise, too, I think TCU's rounding into a complete team. Their defense is still a little leaky at times, but I think once you get later into the season, if they could catch up to the offensive productivity, they could be a really complete team. But yeah, SMU, just looking to sell a little stock in them. I actually didn't put it on the page, but I took a little Missouri State plus 28.5 against SMU. SMU had to travel to Missouri State, which is a little interesting spot there, and they were up 10-0 early in the game, and then I think they lost 28-10, so they were able to cover the spread there. So watched a little bit, and probably more than anybody last week on SMU, but they're just not as talented. Jennings is, looking good, but just not in that midseason form like he was last year. So just really have my doubts about SMU. The line does feel a little high, but like you said, I think it's warranted because of how good TCU has looked. I think they could, along with Utah, be the top 1 and 2 teams in the Pac-12, Big 12. So I think it's going to be a fascinating game. Hopefully a lot of fireworks, a lot of points, but give me the favorite and the over in this one.
Yeah, no, I like all those points. And Josh Hoover, yeah, he was fun to watch against North Carolina. I don't expect anything different here. I love this pick too. I'm probably going to slam TCU. I think you'll see that on the page on Saturday. And it's I've just been a little bit down too on SMU this year. I think because of the playoff appearance last year. I know they brought back their quarterback, but we saw them against Baylor. We saw, that shootout game 48-45. I just think you're going to find SMU in a lot of those situations this year. And I think, they're not going to quite be a contender in the ACC this year. I mean, I know you have Clemson a little bit down, but now you have other teams like Georgia Tech, Florida State looks great. Miami looks like a contender. So yeah, I don't think SMU is really in the conversation for the ACC. I think TCU, like you said, absolutely is in the conversation for the Big 12. Yeah, and I completely agree. I'm going to hammer TCU here. -6.5, I think is a great number. I think they could win this game by more than 10, more than 14, especially late. I do expect a lot of points, but yeah, I just don't think SMU is going to be able to keep up with the TCU offense. I've seen enough. That game against North Carolina was great. So, one also note though on TCU, they have to go out to Arizona State next week, so could be maybe you get a little bit of a look ahead, just some factors to keep in mind. But that's not enough for me to take SMU here. Yeah, give me TCU -6.5.
Yeah, definitely a big prove it week for some of these teams that are kind of in the middle of the pack, but maybe do they want to be a upper echelon, top 15, top 10, maybe flirting with a playoff team, or is it just not there yet this season? So really looking at, I think Texas Tech, Utah, and TCU definitely fit in that mold. So going to be some nice matchups early to see where these teams are at.
Man, it is still so weird. I know we're in like year 2 or whatever of these conference realignments, but like I still can't get used to it. I have to think about the conference every time before I
Right,
even speak.
right.
Crazy. SMU ACC. What's new? All right, moving on to the SEC. We got another ranked matchup, top 25 showdown. Number 22 Auburn going to number 11 Oklahoma. Man, Oklahoma has a great home schedule here to start the year with Michigan and now Auburn coming to town. We all know the story with both these teams. Auburn's kind of in like a prove it situation. They seem to be doing a little bit better than maybe some thought in national media. However, we're just starting. We're just starting SEC play. This is right where we could start to see those 4 losses in a row or whatever. Things start to get tough. So this number is interesting. Also under a touchdown, 6.5. Auburn has to go on the road, and then Oklahoma. They've looked phenomenal so far. John Mateer playing his way into a possible Heisman, contender. I don't want to say he's quite there yet, but I mean, early in the season, he's done everything he possibly really could so far. So they're given 6.5, totals 47.5. Paisley, what do you think? Could Auburn keep this thing close?
Yeah, this one's a tough one because I really do like both teams. We're talking about teams we were buying and selling. I was looking to buy both these teams for the season. So it's a tough one. And I think it is a little bit too many points. I do lean Auburn in this one. If you could snag a 7 flat, I think that'd be solid to have in pocket for this game. But I really do like what I saw at Oklahoma this year. Like you said, they looked very impressive. Even last week in a sleepy spot, going to Temple with about 5,000 fans there. They just put the pedal down and really took it serious and crushed Temple, which doesn't say much, but it's also just to see where your mentals are at and how serious you're taking some of these games and stuff like that. So I think it means a little something. So now they come back home, Auburn off of that great week 1 win against Baylor, still looking good. So I just feel like these teams are both, pretty evenly matched, kind of opened up 4.5 this game. Now Oklahoma's taking a lot of money. So I just think it's a little bit too much points, but again, not one that I'm in love with. The 47.5 is very interesting because both these offenses do have some firepower. And like you said, good quarterback play. So it does feel a touch low, but Oklahoma's defense has looked really good all year, especially in that Michigan game. Now let's see what type of Michigan team is going to be going forward, but they were kind of, conservative and didn't really do much in that game, but you still got to give Oklahoma credit in that one. They really shut them down. So this one's going to be fun. I think this is another great matchup to see where these two teams are at and before they start SEC play. Oklahoma's schedule is crazy. I know going into last week, every opponent they had on their SEC play was ranked, but now they don't because of South Carolina getting bumped out of the top 25. But they have a very tough schedule. So the only thing with Mateer for Heisman and just staying healthy or just having a bunch of losses is going to be that schedule the rest of the way. So this starts off their tough stretch here. I think they have Kent State next week. I was just looking it up. So maybe wait one more week till it gets really tough. But they do have to play Texas. They got South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, LSU to end the year. So just a very daunting SEC schedule. It's not going to be easy in the SEC, but Oklahoma, if they want to start stacking some wins, now would be the time. This is a good spot for them. But I just feel like Oklahoma wins it, but I think it's a little closer. I like Jackson Arnold to keep this one a little close in the Auburn Tigers. Probably not flirt with an outright win, but I'll take the plus 6.5. If you get a 7, that'd be even better.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of with you on taking Auburn with the points. I think it is a lot of points. I think it's, once you get into SEC play, this thing gets tough. I think we're going to see a lot of lower scoring games. I mean, this total is probably about where it should be at 47.5. I don't think I really have a play with it right now. Just once again, these teams are kind of improve it mode still. I know Oklahoma, like you said, got the big win against Michigan, but we don't really know about Michigan yet. We know Bryce Underwood could be really good, but Michigan did not call a great game by any means there. I'm probably going to take Auburn for those reasons, but you mentioned Oklahoma's schedule. Yeah, Auburn's schedule is right there too. They A&M next week. Then I think they might have a bye, but then they play Georgia, Missouri, who's looked good. And then they play Arkansas, but it's on the road. So even a bottom barrel SEC team, you still got to go there. Then you play Vandy, then you play Alabama. So this is a big game for really both these teams. I'm really in agreement here. I don't think I would take Auburn to win outright. I don't love this play either way, but I've gotten burned too much trying to take these heavy favorites at home, like thinking, Oklahoma could win this game by 10. And then it turns out, we're looking in the third quarter and like Auburn will be up 3 or, this will be a back and forth game. So I lean Auburn with the points. Maybe Saturday I'll change my mind here on the slate, but I'm going to take Auburn here with the points.
Yeah, just something I kind of do year to year with the SEC is I do kind of look for the underdogs when it's like somewhat, evenly matched teams. Because like you said, I just feel there's so much good teams in the SEC. It's so deep that you can't really go wrong backing underdogs and keeping games close. They're always coming down to the wire. So like you said, if it's close to a touchdown, a little maybe double digits, I'd just be a little cautious in the SEC. It is usually a lot tighter games, but always could end up, one way or another. But this should be another great matchup here. Can't wait to watch this one.
Yeah, big game for both teams here for SEC play. All right, moving on to the Big Ten Conference. We have the number 21 Michigan Wolverines, who we just mentioned, had that early season setback on the road at Oklahoma. But they have Bryce Underwood, who's up and coming 5-star freshman quarterback, and they go to Nebraska, non-ranked Nebraska, total sitting at 46.5. If you are a repeat listener to this, you know that I've been higher on Nebraska over the last couple of years. I am a fan of Matt Rule. I think they have a shot in this game, Paisley. I know we'll talk about it a little more even later towards the end of this, but I don't know. It feels like finally could the stars be lining for Nebraska. We say it every year. This game is huge because they have a weaker schedule. They're kind of like the Indiana/Illinois maybe of 2024. I said they could be that team, and this is a huge game for them. It's arguably one of their biggest games in years. I know this happens. We say this every so often, but you have a ranked Michigan coming to town. It's a very tight spread. Michigan's a little bit down. I'm not saying they're a bad team, but they have a young quarterback. It's going to be rocking there. It's just really, could Nebraska finally get over the hump and get a signature win? Matt Rule, could he break through? I think they have a pretty good shot. I don't think they're great, but I just think if they could keep this thing low scoring, if they could hold Michigan from scoring and trying to, win this game like close, like 20-17 or 17-13, something like that. I think it's going to be back and forth game, but I'm going to lean. I think Nebraska has a good shot.
Yeah, I think this is where we differ actually on this game. I do like the Wolverines here in this spot. A good amount, not a best bet material or anything crazy, but I think it's got another great matchup here. Michigan going on the road to Nebraska, always a cool environment there. I do like Dylan Raiola. I know he's getting some flack and stuff, and he had lofty expectations and he got the Mahomes thing going on, but I think he's actually playing pretty well. Their offense is a little more dink and dunk. But I'm just more worried about the Nebraska defense. I just don't like what I'm seeing from that side of the ball. Watched that whole Cincinnati game in Arrowhead, and I just feel like Cincinnati got a ton of yards in that game, just couldn't really punch in at the end there. But two plays I like in this one is Michigan minus 2.5, and I do like the over. It kind of started at 43.5, 44, all the way up to 46 now. So I just think it's a little in the past, Michigan teams in Nebraska. Now, Michigan's defense hasn't looked that great either. It should have been a lot better, but they're kind of looking, 50-50 right now. So I just feel like it's a little bit low of a number. I don't really love both these offenses, but I think they could do enough to get it over the total here and get around that high 40 range. So I do like Underwood. I think it depends what game plan they're going to run here. Hopefully they run the one where they let them chuck it and run the ball a little bit, throw it deep like they did against Central Michigan last week where they put up 50, 60 points. Or if they go to the run-heavy conservative approach like they did against Oklahoma, probably not the best approach for this type of matchup. But and one interesting note in this one, too, I think Sharon Moore is also not on the sidelines this game again. This is his second game serving the suspension, so a Biff Poggi, I think his name is, from the Charlotte days. He's kind of a character. He's a fun coach, but he kind of let it rip last week, and they really put up a number that was very surprising, especially in the first half. They just got out and jumped out Central Michigan. So and maybe is it better Sherrone Moore's on the sideline and he's not using that conservative nature? We were both not a fan of that game plan against Oklahoma, and I think he had a big reason to do with it. So let's see how they come out, how they elect to attack this one. But I do think if they let it rip a little bit, I think Michigan could score a decent amount of points, and I think their defense could do enough here to keep Nebraska at bay. So I love the the attention for Nebraska, and I really want to see them do good. But I think their bubble pops here. I think Michigan gets a solid win, but this would be a huge win for Nebraska and the program if they could get it done. So both a lot on the line here on this one, but give me the Wolverines here to get a nice little bounce back win after that Oklahoma loss.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with much of what you said because historically, that's definitely the safer play here. It is hard to imagine seeing Nebraska finally get over the hump here. It's weird, though. I feel like if this spread was 5, I feel like this should be more. I feel like it should be maybe 4, 5.5, 6.5. That number 2.5 is part of even why I'm taking Nebraska. I just think this will be one of those where it's an obvious ranked team going to Nebraska, take Michigan. But I don't know. I have the weird feeling. I will say if you're right about the over, I'd probably then go back. I think if the over hit, I think you're going to see Michigan win. I think Nebraska's recipe to win is trying to hold the Michigan offense, trying to win a lower scoring game. I don't think Riley is bad. I just don't have a ton of faith in Nebraska trying to, win a shootout type of game. That would stun me. So I think if that happens, yeah, we'll see Michigan, but I don't know. I think this is going to be the year. I think Matt Rule will finally break through. I think they're going to win this game outright. So yeah, give me the points with Nebraska, but may dabble a little bit on the money line.
Yeah, no, I think, and that's a great point with the line. It does kind of indicate some things. Like we said, it's never always the right move, or depending where the money goes, doesn't always win that's the right side in the game. But I was kind of watching this. I was watching the board all week, early in the week here, and it hasn't even moved to 3 or 3.5. So this has been pretty stagnated at the 2.5. So that does kind of show that a lot of people do like Nebraska. So again, you're right. This should be a little bit higher. That's why I kind of like Michigan, but this hasn't really crossed the 3 or go to 4, 4.5. So that is a little surprising. So definitely want to take in all factors when you're looking at these games.
Trying to outsmart Vegas. I'm not sure if it'll work. It doesn't usually work often, but I think this might be the year I finally outsmart Vegas with Nebraska. All right, moving right along here. Let's head, I guess, to the SEC. Mr. Pizza, back to the SEC. We got unranked South Carolina. Something happened to South Carolina last week. I'm trying to think. They got absolutely blown out by Vanderbilt, who is now in the top 25. So once again, shout out to Jackpot Carolina, big South Carolina fan. Disappointing to see his team get destroyed like that. Let's see if they can bounce back, though. They're going to Missouri. Bo Prabula, former Penn Stater. He's looked great so far. He's looking. I've seen him top 5 in some quarterback standings of experts, quote unquote experts they put online. I don't know if he's that good, but he's certainly putting up the numbers. Missouri offense just really has yet to be slowed down. And 11.5 point favorite. This seems like a ton of points. But here we are. Number 23, Missouri, 11-point favorite. Total sitting at 47.5. Paisley, what are your thoughts here? Could South Carolina bounce back?
I don't think so. I think Missouri gets it done here and wins with margin. Do have to check on Lenore Sellers' availability. He did have a concussion, so it is interesting to see. Usually in college, they are a little bit more. They wait it out a little longer, so just keep tabs on that. But I think even if he's back, Case, I just like Missouri to roll in this spot. I'm going to keep selling my South Carolina stock here. I don't have enough left, so I'm going to just have to maybe buy more and keep selling it. But I am buying Missouri. I think early on here, it's I don't want to fully buy, like you said, Missouri because of their schedule. They played Central Arkansas, Kansas, which got a little wiry in the first half, but then they came back and won the game. And then they played Louisiana on a backup quarterback and won 52-10. So still got to see it in some big spots like this. I think this is a good time to attack South Carolina here after that crushing loss at home. I think Missouri pounces on them. Some people are saying, not me, but did Penn State pick the wrong quarterback? I don't know. Maybe we'll have to have a different discussion about that one day.
No, they did. In my opinion, they did, Paisley. I'm off the Alger train. I got off last year.
We'll see after next week when the Ducks come to town. Maybe they'll give us a better indication. But
That's good.
But like you said, Purdue's playing really good. I think he just fits this college game. He fits with his legs. His arm still looks good enough. So if he keep playing at that high level, the competition has been great. But the Kansas game, he looked very comfortable, and they're an okay defense. They're definitely not bottom of the league. So I think Missouri definitely has a lot of points. It's coming down a little bit. It was kind of going up to 12, now back down to 10, settling at 11. So I think it's a fair number. Not one that I love, but I probably will be on Missouri minus an 11.5 here. Not sure if it's going to make the card. I got to check Sellers' status. If it goes down to 10, 9.5 might make the card. But I do like Missouri here at home. I think they're a legit, middle upper tier team in the SEC this year, kind of like Vandy. I think with Missouri and Vandy now getting a lot better, especially at the quarterback position, they're going to start instilling some fear into these top tier teams, and it's not going to be an easy game. So I just like them to pounce on South Carolina here. Kind of lines up to my South Carolina take overall in the season. If Sellers can't go, even better for the pick, then try and just get something under 14 points. But I think Missouri gets it done here at home at 7 p.m.
I like it. I'm also on Missouri. It is a little bit contingent. I don't know what South Carolina, Lenore Sellers, it's going to make a big difference. So if you're, listening to this, I can't say with confidence that, Missouri is just going to absolutely roll and blow him out. I think it'll be a little bit more of a game if he plays. But like you said, even if he does, though, I still like Missouri definitely to win this game. 11.5 is a lot. But I don't know. I feel like South Carolina is just kind of at their low after last week. Missouri's played really good. This has been a game circled for Missouri, too, for a while. They're at home, and it's going to be prime time, first big game of the year. And I don't even want to put this out there because, sometimes we, say things and they're not even going to come close to true. I think Missouri has an outside. Actually, I think they have a pretty decent shot at making the SEC championship when you look at their schedule. I really believe it because they avoid Texas, they avoid Georgia, I know Ole Miss isn't great, but they don't have to play Ole Miss. This is a huge game for them. Then they have a cupcake game. They're off. They play Alabama, but there's still a lot of questions. They have Alabama, Auburn, Vanderbilt, A&M. That's really tough. But if you look at the SEC top to bottom, like they're probably if you have to play some of them, they kind of lucked out as far as their SEC scheduling. They get Mississippi State also, to close out or before Oklahoma at the end of the year. So I don't know. Nobody's really said it. That's why I'm saying it. I think they have an outside shot just based off how the standings could shape out at the end of the year. I think you're going to see a lot of SEC like 1, 2, 3 loss teams like late in November trying to battle it out. And if this is a big game for Missouri, I do think they win. And for all those reasons, I just in Bo Prabula, he's given that offense some juice. I don't know exactly, if it's all him. I haven't watched a ton of Missouri, but he's putting up a lot of big yardage, ton of points in the Kansas game. They rolled, Louisiana 52-10. So we don't know yet about Missouri too much until we get into the SEC. But so far, I've had nothing really to knock them down on big time. Yeah, their defense a little bit against Kansas, but I'm just selling South Carolina, kind of like you are. I'm yet to be disproven about Missouri, and I think South Carolina is just not what we thought they were. Or I guess you did, but I was a little higher on them going into the year. So yeah, I think Missouri's going to roll here, probably cover, and watch out. Missouri is a dark horse SEC contender. I think all of a sudden.
I like it. Got to call your shot there. I'd probably pick Vanderbilt. Honestly, I love what I'm seeing on Vanderbilt. They'll probably be my, back of the pack team trying to come up to the top.
That's a good pick too. Yeah.
But as you look at Missouri's schedule, like you said, they have Alabama and Texas A&M at home, so that's big. You want to have your bigger games that you think you can win at home. On the road at Auburn, Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma, like you said. But you're right, they do get Arkansas, Mississippi State, and South Carolina kind of the bottom of the SEC this year. So, like you said, it's hard to get some of those breathers. Little point maybe because we haven't talked about them in a while, but is Texas an easy team in the SEC if you have them on your schedule with how Arch Manning's looking? But yeah, I do like Missouri. Their offense, I think, is electric. I want to see what the defense this game. If they could really hold South Carolina, whoever's playing quarterback, down to under 20 points, I think that's going to be a really good sign because I think this offense could compete with anybody. But if they want to be that top team or look to maybe crack an SEC or a playoff berth, I think they're going to need the defense to step up a little bit. So keep an eye on their defense.
Also, I'd like to retract my statement about how preseason I was actually higher on South Carolina. We actually both have them in the disappointing category, Mr. Paisley, so we could pat ourselves on the pat on the back there. But yeah, no, yeah, it's a great point. I think this is a huge game for Missouri, and they're playing well. So yeah, we'll see what happens. That's a prime time game, 7 o'clock slot on Saturday. All right, moving on. We got the Florida Gators. I forgot they still have a team down there. Billy Napier still their head coach. We got College Game Day coming to Miami. I can't remember. This is rare. I think we have an unranked game going on here. College Game Day. Not a great slate. I probably would have liked to see them in Utah or maybe Indiana, which we'll get to next. But Florida going to number 4 Miami. We don't even have to spend a lot of time on Florida. We know what happened to them so far. DJ Lagway looked terrible a week ago against LSU. They have the heartbreaking loss to South Florida at home. Now they have to travel to Miami. Miami land 7.5 points. 51.5 is the total. Paisley, what do you think? Is Napier going to get another loss here, or could they bounce back and stun the Hurricanes?
I don't think they can. I do like the Hurricanes in this matchup, actually a good amount here. I do like it. 7.5, not the best number. So if you could try and find a 7, I don't think it's going to go below 7. So if 7 could be a buy point, I think I actually might have placed that bet today, actually, on a 7 minus 112. So I do think Miami here, this is a big game for recruiting wise. And also I just don't get how College Game Day is going here. I agree with you. That's a bad pick. They should have went to Indiana. I think you're not going to have a lot of chances to go to Indiana, in the future. But Miami, yeah, I think they had some, tough games early on. You got to account to that with Notre Dame and then having South Florida come in, but they breezed by South Florida last week. So they haven't had to spend a lot of energy in that game. I think Florida, they're just a mess right now. And you're looking for these teams that are a mess to maybe they're going to fight back or maybe they're going to have a chance. And that LSU game was just very frustrating looking back on that and hearing more people talk about that game. Like the 5 interceptions, like at what point do you go to the backup quarterback? Like that was a point I didn't even think about that someone else said. And I'm like after the 3rd, 4th, if they would have brought the backup in, would they have maybe covered that game? Like their defense played well enough, which I think is something.
Won that game.
Yeah, like it's something that people are not talking about with Florida, where the loss to South Florida was 19-18 or something, and then they held LSU in that offense at home to 20 points flat. So the defense definitely is doing their part, and they're playing okay. But I think this Miami offense is just going to do enough here to put up points, and I just don't see Florida scoring here a second straight week, and that's just where I find the problem in covering the 7.5. You have to have an elite defense if you're only getting 7.5 and trying to cover a game like this. So I feel like Miami puts up enough points. We saw what they did to him last year. Obviously, a hugely different team with Cam Ward in that week 1 matchup. But this is a big game for recruiting purposes, just for the state of Florida in general. Miami's trying to take that, top team of Florida over all these Florida teams and FSU. So they do not like each other. I wouldn't be shocked if either way, if the score got run up. A couple of years ago, Florida liked to run it up when they were good. So Miami, I feel like, has those years, and they don't forget about that. So I wouldn't be shocked if Cristobal keeps some starters in later, tries to run up the score here a little bit to really put a damper on Florida. I thought last week if you were going to back them was the week to back them. I just think they're absolutely dead now, and it's crazy to say that after week 3 or 4 of the college football season, but I just think they're dead man walking. I think Napier just has no idea what's going on with his team. He doesn't have a hold of them. Just very, highly penalized, turnovers, just so sloppy. So, was kind of shocked this number, would be this high in general. But I feel like with the current construct, with Miami looking really good, they just control the line so good on both offense and defensive side. So they don't have to do too much. Beck could just stand back there. We'll have all day. So I feel like it's a lower-ish scoring game. Would maybe look at the total 51.5. But I just don't see Florida breaking past the 14-point mark if they couldn't get past the LSU defense, which is really good this year. But I think they're going to struggle again with Miami. But yeah, DJ Lagway, we talked about, man, he is not looking good. And I don't think that game last week gave a lot of people or himself a lot of confidence. So I do like Miami here to run it up a little bit and win by 7+.
All good points, good analysis. This one, Miami has a chance to do the most Miami thing ever and have a great start to the year. They beat Notre Dame out at home. They beat South Florida. They blow them out. They're all of a sudden ranked 4th in the country. Clemson's down. They look like the clear-cut favorite to win the ACC. You have College Game Day coming to town. It's like It's like the script can't be written any more perfect for Florida on their deathbed, coach about to be fired, DJ Lagway sucks, to just come in there and somehow win the game. I'm not there, but I'm just saying it has it. If we come back here Sunday night, I'm not going to be stunned if we're just talking about what happened to Miami. What did they do? That being said, I'm not there yet. I'll be there later in the season on Miami. They'll probably lose to like Stanford or something crazy, or Pittsburgh or that game at the end of the year. The X factor for me is I have a little bit more faith in this Miami team. Carson Beck's look great. I think it's going to be a little bit different, and I don't see them getting caught off guard here. With that being said, I'm not going to be stunned if it happens. They will do it at some point. I don't think it'll be here, but it has a great storybook if it does. Game day coming, how it aligned, Billy Napier, on his deathbed here. So I wanted to take Florida so badly, but I can't do it. I'm going to take Miami, and I'm either taking Florida to win the game or I'm taking Miami to cover. So for those reasons, I'm taking Miami to cover.
That's smart. Honestly, I could see it going that way. I could either see a Miami blowout or Miami choking the game away and Florida sneaks out a win in crazy fashion. So honestly, it's not a bad thought process when going through some of these games. It could get really ugly, or the team that we think is going to get blown out can maybe win the game outright. It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to that one, though. It should be fun to see how Florida comes out and if Miami can keep it up. Okay, moving on to the Big Ten. Noah just touched on this game a little bit. I think it would have been great for game day to go here back to Bloomington. Number 19, Indiana, hosting top 10 ranked number 9, Illinois. Brett Bielema, Luke Altmaier coming to town. I know we were talking about this a little bit pre-show. Indiana minus 5.5 points seems like a little bit of a number there with number 19 coming to town. Totals 52.5. It's going to be a fun game. Not very often do you have a top 20 Illinois Indiana matchup that really matters here for playoff potential, just because you get 12 teams in. So one of these teams I think could be that 3 or 4 team in the Big Ten, going to be right there battling for the college football playoff, I think, at the end of the year. Paisley, what do you think? Illinois at Indiana.
Yeah, it's just crazy to see Illinois in the top 10. It just doesn't feel right with them with the number 9 next to them. But it is crazy to see Indiana up there as well in a 19. But this one's going to be awesome. So I'm really looking forward. This is my top game of the week, 7:30 prime time. I'm going to be sitting down because I'm really interested to see how these both teams match up and play in Indiana here. I agree with you. I think the number's a little high. It started off at 3.5, got bet all the way up now to 5. I saw 6.5 today, actually. So it did get up to 6.5. Didn't touch 7, but I do like Illinois. I'm just kind of waiting to see if I could get a 6.5 or maybe a 7 pops. But I like Illinois, and I kind of like them to win outright. I might dabble them on the money line as well. But I just don't love what I'm seeing from this Indiana team. I feel like there's just so much based off of what last year's team was, and that team I think is better than this year's team, and they had such a better schedule. I think the better quarterback, but this year's quarterback Mendoza is still really solid. But I think Work was a better quarterback. But we're going to see it here in this game. And I was kind of selling Illinois 2 weeks ago, if you listen to the pod, when they were playing against Duke, and they impressed me. They honestly did. A lot of the turnovers that we said that Duke had, but Illinois would have still won that game handily, even without the turnovers. This offense is dynamic. I'd kind of look to a little over in this matchup too. Maybe, split it half unit on the over, full unit on Illinois here. But I just think Altmaier's a gamer. I think he's really good. I liked him even going into that Duke matchup, but I just didn't think the team around him was good. But those receivers showed out. They couldn't really run the ball, which is definitely something that I was a little worried about. So that they might struggle to throw the ball, but I just really trust Altmaier with the ball in his hands. He's a good scrambler too, so you get some yards on the ground with that. So I expect Illinois to be a little pass heavy in this matchup. And then on the Indiana side, yeah, they looked good last week against Indiana State, which I didn't even know they had a football team. They're more known for their basketball. But they won 73-0. They're still pounding teams that are really terrible. And I think that kind of just elevates them a little more. And we saw them in these spots last year. It's not Michigan and it's not Ohio State or Notre Dame of last year. But Illinois is a really, really solid team. I don't know if they're a top 10 team, but they're a very good team. And Indiana tends to beat up on the bad teams. And then when they get up to better competition, they kind of fall flat a little bit. So I'm very surprised this number just keeps juicing up. I thought this would be around pick'em, or maybe 3 would be the highest number. So I'm kind of with you, kind of a numbers play on Illinois here. And I'm just backing, I think, the better quarterback. I do think Indiana's team as a whole is really solid. So I think it's going to be a fantastic matchup, but I think it's going to be a close game. And I just trust Altmaier and what he's doing this year. And I think he's going to have another great showing in this one and put the nation on notice here that he's a top 10 quarterback in this league.
I like it. Bold. And I agree. I like Luke Altmaier. I think he is a gamer, is a good word to use. He reminds me a little bit of Trace McSorley when he was in college for Penn State. When I watch him, it's going to be tough. It's an interesting matchup because it is at Indiana. It is prime time. I think they are also a solid team. I give Illinois like the slight talent edge and grittiness. But then you throw in those factors, Cignetti, whatever you think he is, he's certainly not afraid to speak his mind and get in front of the cameras. You have that fan base who's finally starting to win. I mean, both of them kind of are, but similar teams. I had both of these teams on my disappointing list in the start of the season. I'm not going to withdraw that yet. I think, things could still fall off the rails here once they get into Big Ten play. This one's tough. But I do like Illinois. That's just too many points. I think we're going to see like no matter, like a couple weeks ago, it was a great pick when I was on Iowa State and you were on Iowa. These are the type of games that I just can't see getting more than a field goal, no matter like how much different one of these teams are or on paper. I just think this is going to be a lower scoring game. The total's at 52.5, interesting number. It makes me want to take the under, but I just think it's going to be close. I can't see one of these teams pulling away. And if one does get ahead by 7, I think you're going to see, somebody answer. You might see some weird stuff in this game, possibly a missed field goal, a block punt, stuff like that. I think you're going to see typical, Big Ten football here. But yeah, 5.5 is too much. I really like Luke Altmaier. I think I'm a little bit down still on Indiana more than I am with Illinois. I think Illinois could, hit those expectations they have this year. We'll see about Indiana. Like you said, they blew out Indiana State. Who really cares about that? We see, craziness like that all the time. And they also struggled. I'm looking now at their schedule. I forgot that Old Dominion game week 1 where they did not look good at all. So we'll see. But yeah, for all those reasons, I'm gonna stick Illinois here. I also agree. I may put a little bit on the money line, but definitely like them with the points here.
Yeah, and I just think it's not everything, but when Illinois went down to Duke, I mean, that's a legit opponent. It's not that Duke is definitely not as great as we thought after last week too, getting crushed by Tulane. So, but it's a better gauge and it's a better point than Kennesaw State, Indiana State, and Old Dominion's a very solid Sun Belt team. But they, like you said, I watched that whole game. They did not look impressed in that game. It was week 1, but I just feel like with some of these teams that go the easier scheduling route early on with absolute cupcakes and not even like someone that could challenge them a little bit, I think it does hurt you in your first big time test. Now, will Indiana, be better down the line once they get a couple more games in them and stuff? Like, I think so. But this first one is kind of a shock to go from a top 10 team, if you want to admit it or not, they are a top 10 team. Versus these bottom FCS teams that you played the last 2 weeks. So I think it is just a huge step up, and I just don't understand why the number got inflated this much.
Right. Yeah, and that's a good point because even the worst players on Duke, they're still, they're still ACC recruited. There's still a lot of 3-stars. It's there. They're still tough, a lot different than what Kennesaw State's recruiting. So just from a talent gap, you're definitely facing fiercer competition there. The only exception in FBS I might have right now is UCLA. They're really bad, but every other team is definitely there's definitely a talent gap. Good point there. Okay, well, with that being said, that is our preview of games. Now Paisley and we have a few preliminary picks of the week that we like. And then, of course, stay tuned in about 10 minutes. At the end of the show, we have our underdog parlay of the week. I'm not going to want to miss that. So, Paisley, I'll let you lead it off here. Who's one of your early picks that you like this week?
Yeah, going to go with the total here to start us off. Going to go to an over in the Arkansas-Memphis game, over 61.5. Just think it's a little low. I think both these offenses are really good, really legit, putting up a bunch of numbers. Arkansas is a sneaky team that actually hung with Ole Miss. Now, Ole Miss was on their backup quarterback, but they were going pound for pound at Ole Miss scoring-wise, but their defense is bad. Their D-line is not good. They can't get any pressure that you could run on them. So they're a team, again, another good over team that I talked about, like with SMU. Memphis also fits that mold too. Very good, very explosive offense like they seem to have every year. but their defense is just a little lackluster. So these two teams really just match up. I think you're going to see a similar game, like if you watch that Arkansas Ole Miss game, just back and forth. I could see both teams in the high 30 here, maybe somebody touching 40. So I think this one's going to go over the low 60 total. So give me the Arkansas-Memphis. Interesting game, Arkansas going to Memphis, so it should be fun. Over 61.5 in that one.
I like that pick. And I think that was the same number we hit on Arkansas against Ole Miss. I think it was also 61.5. So
it was around there. Yep.
Yeah, good pick there. I do not have an over-under, but I have a Friday night action. Could kick off the week here a little bit early. Before I even pick this, I think I should next year, Paisley, we should have a different spreadsheet for just Friday games because I feel like Friday games have actually been picked pretty good so far. I also just like the underdog here. I'm going Rutgers with 2.5 points. They have Iowa coming to town at home. This is just, I think, one of those weird Friday night underdog home team. I think Rutgers could win this game. I know 2.5 points, but 2.5 points against Iowa is really like 5.5 points. I know we say it all the time, but it's just a style of offense. Rutgers has looked pretty good this year. I know they haven't really played anybody. They had a really close call week 1 against Ohio. They still were able to put up some points. I know they had some special teams to carry them over the edge, but Ohio, they go on, they beat West Virginia. West Virginia beats Pittsburgh last week. So let's not, we'll see how these teams play out. I think Rutgers is a decent team. I think they're a little bit better than they have been historically in the Big Ten. Not great, but I think they're that, 6-7 team number this year, not like 0-12 like UCLA. And then on the other side, Iowa, I'm just a little bit down on. And it's a Friday night, start the week early. I think we're going to see a big home upset here for Rutgers.
Love it. I was actually going to put this one on my early looks too, but you beat me to it. So definitely just want to add some sentiments with that. But I do like the pick. Rutgers is actually more an offensive team this year. Like you said, their quarterback is looking really good in his second year in the system. They could put up some points. Now, they're going up against a good Iowa defense, but not as good as they've been in the past. So I think Rutgers is actually going to score the ball here a decent amount. And if you got to catch up to a team scoring, you do not want that Iowa offense. They are very, very bad. I thought this quarterback from South Dakota State would come in and look a lot better, but they just still cannot throw the ball at all. They've really focused on the run. They're just so easy to defend. So I'm with you. I think the wrong team's favored. I thought Rutgers should be favored by 2.5, 3. So I will definitely take the plus 2.5, maybe sprinkle a money line too, but do love that one Friday night. Friday nights have been very good to us, Case. We have been picking very good. So definitely want to get those in to start the weekend. I feel like there's a lot more Friday games in general this year. Like there seems to be 6, 7, 8 than on a Saturday.
There's I think there's new TV right deals. Like I think the Big Ten has a Friday night game every single week actually through the end of the year. So yeah, a little bit different. You're seeing more Friday night games being played. So that is true.
Nice. But yeah, I'm going to go to one here that I was actually surprised. It opened up. Going to go back to our North Texas Mean Green. We've been really highlighting them in this section here, but going to be laying 2.5. They actually opened as the underdog against Army on Sunday when the lines came out. They'll be traveling to New York to battle Army here. But again, kind of a team that I'm buying, team that I'm selling. I've been behind this North Texas team. If you're listening to the podcast here, they made the card a couple weeks in a row. Absolutely destroyed Washington State 62 or 64, 10, whatever the score was. They're looking impressive. I'm telling you, they are a team to watch in the group of 5. They are very, very good. And I've been selling my Army stock. Still love the troops overall, but as a football team wise, just do not like them overall. That loss to Tarleton State the first week. Now, Tarleton State is very, very good. They actually might be the best FCS team. They might go undefeated, somebody said. So don't want to take too much away from that loss, but that's still a tough loss when you're a 14-point home favorite in that one. But I think North Texas gets it done here. They played them close last year. They really slowed down Army last year, who was a lot better offensively. So I feel like they're a little more buttoned up. I'm very shocked this line was that low. So I will gladly take it. I actually put a 2-unit bet right when it came out on Sunday, plus 2.5. So just knew this line was going to move the other direction. So give me the North Texas under a field goal here. Love that one.
Basically, this is one of the least surprising picks of the week for you, betting against one of the service academy schools. If you're new to the podcast, Paisley has a track record of picking against teams like Army and Navy. So, no, I like it. North Texas looked awesome last week. I don't know what Washington State's doing. I know I haven't followed them a lot since the whole Pac-12 being dissolved. So, yeah, but something not good. Absolute blowout there, North Texas. So, no, I like that pick. All right, I'm going James Madison minus 8.5 for my other pick. I think James Madison's one of those potential group of 5, sneaky teams that could be in it here at the end of the season. They're going to, I guess, Liberty, but they're coming off a bye week, James Madison. And I think this is a big game for them because Liberty was, so good the last couple of years. They've had a circuit on their schedule. I think Liberty is certainly down now this year. I know it's a little bit of a lot of points. I mean, 8.5, that's a decently number, but I just think they're going to roll here. I think Liberty's look bad. They lost that game against Jacksonville State. They lost to Bowling Green. And then on the other hand, I think JMU's up. They're playing. They have a really good quarterback, and I could see this getting out of hand and at least winning by 2 touchdowns. So give me James Madison laying all the points, 8.5.
I also do love that one, Case. That's also in my betting apps. I do have JMU minus 8.5. I like they hung against Louisville last week or 2 weeks ago. They actually hung in that game, covered the 14.5. They could play with the big dogs. They were definitely a team we were both buying early on in the year. Don't really love the 2 quarterback system, but I think it'll work in this matchup. And I'm really selling Liberty. Case, they are bad. They are bad. They were supposed to be good. They are really bad. I don't know who's going to win that Conference USA, but Liberty is not looking good. So I'm with you. I think JMU pounces there. This one, a little surprise pick here, but I'm actually going to be backing Bill Belichick here and the Tar Heels +7 against UCF. They're going on the road to UCF. I feel like, again, people are just trying to zig while other people are zagging. I think they saw the UNC first game against TCU, and everyone just does not want to touch UNC. They think they're terrible. They looked okay the last couple of games. Now they played Richmond and Charlotte the last 2 games. Their offense is still a little patchwork, but the defense is playing a lot better. And this is what I expected from this UNC team. And I was a big TCU guy, so I wasn't too shocked in that week 1 matchup. I think they're that good. But UNC, I think, is going to get better each week under Bill Belichick and that coaching staff. The players still aren't there. They're not that talented. But guess what? UCF is not that talented either. I don't know why this line is this high. I was just very shocked when it came out. It keeps going up. I think it opened at 4.5, 5.5. It keeps trickling up. So I'll gladly take a touchdown here. But I wouldn't be shocked if UNC wins this one outright. I think they get their first big staple win. I'm just really a big seller of UCF and Scott Frost going back to the program there. They really struggled with Jacksonville State week 1, played a couple nobodies in the weeks in between. So I just think this is a very toss-em-up field goal game. So I'll gladly take a touchdown here with Bill Belichick. And if I'm getting Bill Belichick for Scott Frost, I'll take Bill Belichick any day of the week. So give me UNC here, maybe a little upset, and win it on the road at UCF.
As the great and legendary Lee Corso would say, Paisley, great pick. Great pick. Now, for all those reasons, I like North Carolina too. I was actually thinking about them being my underdog parlay of the week team.
There we go.
Spoiler, they are not, but no, I really do like North Carolina. Really for all those reasons. That first game against TCU with UNC, I think we're a little bit fooled. I think TCU is just that good. I don't think UCF is even close to as good as TCU. So with 7 points, North Carolina all day. That's a good pick. I'm going to close with a lot of points here, 18.5. And trust me, I want every single one of these points. Michigan State going all the way out west to Southern Cal, 11 p.m. Eastern kick. So just a little bit of change of pace here. Not sure how it's going to turn out. USC's looked a little bit better this year, but I also think Michigan State's a little bit better offensively this year. I just think that's too many points. I think these teams are a little bit closer on the talent gap. I think 18.5 is a lot. Now, you have some weird factors. You have USC playing at home at this time. Michigan State's got to travel cross country. Last year, some of those teams did struggle when they did that. So could this get out of hand? Possibly, but that's just too many points for me. It's a Big Ten game. I think Michigan State's a little bit better than some people are still giving them credit for. They got the big win over Boston College. Give me them not to win the game, but 18.5. I'll take that all day.
Yeah, this one really caught my eye when it first came out, and I thought I was missing something, but Michigan State might have some injuries. I don't think it's anybody too crazy, but their defense hasn't looked great. So I kind of like the over in this game, actually, if you want to do them both on a play here. But I don't mind Michigan State. This line keeps going up. It started at 14.5, I think it was. It already moved 4 points. So maybe if it touches 21, I might have to hop in on that one. But I do like the over. I think USC is very improved. USC is another sneaky team in the Big Ten. I think they're very, very improved. But this is a lot of points in that spot. I was very shocked by the number 2. So interested to see how that one turns out late at night on Saturday. And then to round us out here for the picks here, I'm going to go Kansas minus 13.5 little bit of a spot play here, playing against West Virginia. West Virginia going to Kansas. I just think West Virginia, off of that huge win against Pitt, the emotional storming the field, taking down the goalposts, everything that happened in that game. It was a crazy ending in overtime. I feel like they spent a lot of energy on that one. Now you got to go on the road to Kansas, who's coming off of a bye. They looked really sharp in their first couple weeks, played that week 0 game. So they're looking very sharp. Kansas is a little team that I want to buy in the Big 12. I think they could be a middle of the pack team. So I just think it's a lot of points, but I think it's baked into the spot here. I think West Virginia spent a lot of energy on that game last week. I think they're going to come out flat. Kansas coming off the bye. I think they lay the hammer down on this West Virginia team, who it was a big win against Pitt, but I think that was more on Pitt choking the game away. I'm not sold on this West Virginia team, and I do like the Jayhawks this year, so kind of just matches up here. Give me the Jayhawks to win by 14 plus.
Going against my buddy Rich Rod, Paisley. Disappointing.
Hate to do it, but have to.
No, I could see easily that happen. Huge win for West Virginia last week. So, yeah, we'll be interested to see how they respond. All right, folks. Well, now the moment that everybody's been waiting for, the underdog parlay of the week. Paisley, according to my record book here, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we are 2-0 here on the season. Already more than last year, and it's week 4. And we haven't been, we picked some bold picks here. I think it was plus 500, plus 600. So we're up, I guess, over 1,000 here, 10 units, whatever. Off to a great start. And who's your underdog here to win outright this week?
Yeah, this is the hottest thing going on X right now, the Everything app with the parlay. It's catching waves going across the country here. We are 2-0. Didn't really do it week 0 or week 1, so we're 2-0 in the early season here. But this week going to go a little bit less juicy, but I still really like our picks here to win outright. I'm going to go Arizona State for mine, plus 115. They're going to Baylor. Again, just feel like the wrong team's favored in this matchup. I think ASU is a little more complete than Baylor. Baylor a little more one-sided with their offense being really good. Their defense is very, very bad. I think ASU showed a lot in that second half against Mississippi State coming back. So I do like Arizona State here as a little sneaky underdog. I was very surprised they were an underdog, but give me Sam Levitt and Dillingham to go down there to Waco to get an upset plus 115 for my leg.
A good pick. I like Arizona State, especially coming off the early season loss. Could definitely see them rebounding here at plus 115. I have a similar pick on the odds. Kind of hinted to it earlier in the podcast. I am officially picking Nebraska to defeat Michigan at home. You could go back and look at my reasoning. It's at home. You got Matt Rule. I feel like this is a game that they can't win, which just makes me want to take them more. So give me the Huskers. I think they finally break through on this one, Pace. I know you're against it, but you're going to be thanking me on Sunday when we discuss, and you're going to be like, wow, Casey, you were right. Nebraska did it. Matt Rule did it. I was wrong. And we're going to be 3-0 on the season on our underdog picks.
I hope so. I mean, this is make or break it for your Cornhuskers. If they lose this one, you might be selling and jumping off ship. But if they win, then you were at the head of the ship there driving the boat. So it's going to be a huge game. A lot of pressure on Nebraska for those reasons because Mr. Berger's on them heavily.
A lot of pressure. All right, folks. Well, that is all. And we will be back here Sunday night recapping everything from week 4 and talking about what's next for Nebraska.